welcome you here, and we're
Thank you.
delighted. We're delighted to be able to introduce Reverend Violet Schonhardt, who is a metaphysical scholar and teacher, and who is psychic and communicates sometimes with spirits, and has a long history of teaching people who are going to be spiritual leaders.
That's
So
really
let's,
great. Nice to meet
yes.
you, ma'am.
So Violet, we're very happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
So tell everybody just a little bit about, what your life path has been.
Okay, so I'm a PhD student of mathematics.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I have my small business.
Really?
Yeah,
What's your business?
handmade jewelry.
Ah, wonderful.
Actually, this is what I have been doing. Look to the
Cool.
mess.
Aha.
Yeah, I was
Wonderful.
working.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah. And I want to be like a professor at the university in the future.
Okay. So where are you in your studies?
With my thesis,
What?
but I'm preparing the thesis of my mathematics. I'm doing some research,
Good.
but with the corona and stuff, I've been
Yeah. Corona has messed up a lot of things,
yeah.
for sure. So thank you for letting us get to know you a
Thank you for
little.
having me here. And
We're very glad
it's
that
really
you're
nice.
here. Hi to you, Asma, from everybody. And Zainab, good to see you.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, right. So, we are going to discuss some, love is something, it's what we're focusing on this month. And it is so many different things that we could talk about it every day, all day, and never come to the end. So, what we're going to mention about love today will most likely be different than anything anybody else has said yet. We invite you to, write a paragraph for the February booklet. If you, have a thought that intrigues you, you realize something, you have an aha moment, share it with us. Because that way you will get the enjoyment of having shared it, having formatted it, and it will be even more important to you. So, Violet, let's start with you.
Okay.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you've done, who you are?
Okay. Well, I will be 79 years old on March the 8th.
Wow.
And I live a happy, healthy lifestyle in the way that's right for me, because it always isn't the same for everybody. But I grew up in a wonderful home in Indiana in the United States, and my parents were very fundamental, and they disciplined me and my sister and taught us to have good manners, and I'm very pleased about that. They taught me values. Now, their philosophy is very different from mine now. And so when I was 38 years old, I learned about the things that I'm into now. I began learning about metaphysics, and I began learning about working with my teachers in the world of spirit. And I call that Spirit University. And Spirit University is free and it's available 24 hours a day because my teachers in the world of spirit work with me in that way. And also family and friends or whomever, when we pass away, for me, it's going into that higher state of consciousness without a physical body. So I started with these things like 40 years. So now I've been working in this with these belief systems for more than half of my life. And I'm very, very pleased about how that has happened. Go ahead, Rosemary.
No, I was just going to ask you a question about what have you learned that's most important to you about love through all of that?
I believe love is all there is, actually. Love is the only energy there is. And when I am upset and angry and hateful and disrespectful of the plants, the animals, the trees, people, and myself, then I suffer those consequences.
Like what?
Well, I'm miserable and bad things happen to me.
Okay.
Things that I don't want to happen to me happen to me.
Okay, that's clear enough.
And I feel it comes from being insecure. It comes from fear of not having enough, not being enough. And for so many years, I always would go and I would depend on other people. Like I did do work with other organizations, and they brought the people to me for me to help because I worked with counseling in our school in a public school system for many years, and I was a teacher. I taught English and journalism, and so I have learned that in honoring myself, it's good for me to be able to do my own thing and stand tall. And I call it my higher self, my universal self, my spiritual self. That as I move into those things, then I can just be happy. And even when something unexpected comes along, then I have the tools, the gifts, the tools, the know-how to move forward and to move back into what I call the flow of life. And when you move into that spiritual part of you, it's like the universal, where there are lots of different opportunities. You're not stuck with just the limited as you are in the physical, like I do it this way or this way or this way. But in the universal part, those higher states, then there are all kinds of opportunities and possibilities.
Mm-hmm. So basically, I hadn't ever thought about this before, but your juxtaposition of terms makes me think, love is the opposite of feeling stuck.
Yes. Yes. And it is the opposite. And I've always thought about faith over fear. Now, faith for me, and I work with science, but when we have that energy of faith and we bring it with the metaphysics, then it is the doorway that pulls everything together. Actually, it's a vibrational portal. And I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about.
I was just going to ask you to define, if you can, vibrational.
Yeah, vibration is the movement. Everything in the world and beyond has a vibration to it. It's a little movement, a little energy that moves. Like, gosh, I don't know, men use shavers and there's that vibration, or women may use the shavers, but every single thing, that's how things appear in the physical world, is through a certain rate vibration.
Right. And a higher rate of vibration is more loving, more harmonious, more in the flow, more in the, more unstuck.
It's unstuck, and it's called what I call maximizing energy.
Okay.
Because every single thought any of us think carries energy, it carries value, it carries information out into the universe.
Right. So, one of the interesting things for me about thinking about vibration is I'm thinking about music, for instance, that there's harmony and there's disharmony. And so, loving vibration is harmonious. It feels good, it sounds good.
Right.
And so we're not always harmonious with other people. We feel love when we're in harmony with someone else. That's the feeling of love, really.
Right. That for me is the feeling of love. And that's when I feel, some people call it, you're in your sweet spot, because you feel really good.
Yeah.
And I can share with you, Rosemary, maybe now's the time for me to share what happened when I hit a deer.
Okay.
Yeah. I had just an amazing experience December the 1st, because I decided to go out and get takeout and bring it home, since, we're in the COVID thing where we're not supposed to be out too much in restaurants. And so I had ordered
takeout, by the way, is a meal that you order by phone and then you go pick it up at a restaurant and bring it home.
Right. And it had gotten dark, and I was going past some apartments, and a deer ran out in front of me, and I hit it, and it went rolling, it went flying across the street, and I knew it was dead. But immediately, and we work with, we're of course living peace now, and in this peaceful thing, it's precipitated with this love, and I call it loving organization. So I've been training my mind. It's about training my mind to respond to my thoughts in the way I've chosen. And so I immediately, as soon as I hit that deer and I felt that car crunching around me and I felt the pain, I immediately said, my mind and my body are completely relaxed. My mind and my body are completely relaxed. And I kept that. I kept that environment, because it's about setting the environment that I want to experience with my thoughts. And then I drove on, and I got out at the next stoplight, or, street light, got out of the car, and I looked to see the damage, and and it was still running. So I went on, picked up my food, came back, and I called a friend of mine who works with what we call distant healing. And she kept working with me. Well, the bottom line is I was not injured at all. My car was totaled. And I am so blessed and so grateful, because I had used that power of love in one of its many wonderful varieties, where good things happened to me.
So that's really a very interesting experience. First of all, let me make sure that everybody understands exactly what we're talking about. A deer, a cerf, it's a fairly large animal. So if you hit one with a car, it can be a very serious accident. It often is. I have actually heard of people dying. It's like hitting a wall, pretty much, or a tree. And so the fact that Violet basically walked away, her car was wrecked. she couldn't use it anymore. She had to get a new one. That was a little bit miraculous. And what she's telling us is that because as it was happening, she thought about being whole, about being totally all right. And she relaxed. She told her mind, she told her body to relax so that she would be able to be flexible and respond to the impact in a way that would minimize injury. So basically, what she's describing is what seems like a really miraculous event and escape. How did you feel after that?
Traumatized.
I bet.
It took me a while because I felt like, wow, I had mixed feelings. I had so many mixed feelings about how could this happen to me? But then intellectually, I knew because I had been training myself in working with metaphysics and with the and connecting the spiritual and the metaphysical part. And I have trained my mind to what I call dampen the effects of the physical and expand that of those higher energies.
And what Violet's describing also uses the way the universe works, uses the power of mind over body. And that's also what we're talking about on Fridays when we're doing the 12 powers, is we're exploring how we use our minds to help us slide harmoniously through challenges and come out on the other side whole, happy, and successful. So that's a really good example of what we're talking about on Fridays, those of you that are following the Friday class. Wow, thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Violet. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Is this making sense?
Karen, maybe you could give us a comment or two. You got to go off mute.
You got to unmute yourself.
I'm never muted or unmuted at the right time.
Yep.
Anyway, not a bad shortcoming. I agree with you wholeheartedly that your mind, just like your body needs training to stay in physical shape, absolutely your mind needs the same training. And with all the negative feedback we get these days from the news and friends meaning well, but sometimes
right.
people go, oh my, maybe that could be true. That's terrible. You have to, I think it's important to, you don't have to, but it's important to feed your mind just like you feed your body with information that influences that mind in a positive way, the way you want to grow it. It is yours to grow, just like your body. They're not separate with your head up here and your body down here. They're hooked on together for a reason. So I agree.
Thank you.
And thank you, Violet, for being here today.
Yes.
I enjoy it very much. I feel so. It's such a privilege. It's such a privilege to do to work with the things that I work with, and that's my passion. I love it.
You certainly are a talented person, so
thank you.
I don't want to miss this interview today.
Right. I wanted to go back to what you said about what is your passion. I'm looking to where I can find that.
Well, my passion is to
Thank you.
share my gifts and talents, my knowledge and my know-how. And really, it's about hearts opening up to each other. And part of, what I call it trauma, which is, I believe in our whole world, we're being traumatized with COVID and with all of the things that we're dealing with. For me, climate change and just people not respecting each other. It's such a challenge. And to me, my passion is to be able to do for myself to overcome that and still be peaceful. And for me, it is the love that heals. And I call it like the upper room of consciousness. So when my consciousness is rising above the physical situations and appearances, then I am able to laugh and be happy and create more good situations for me in the physical world, but for everybody else and in the universe. So that is my passion, to the healing of the human heart. And to me, with all of these things in our everyday lives, from the first when we first come into this world, it's such an adjustment. I have a friend who works with those in the world of spirit. And when she was 5 or 6 years old, or maybe it was even 4, she looked around and she said, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm little, but I'm really big." And when we're in the physical world, it sometimes seems like we're little, that we don't have much power. But when you rise into those happy, loving, being courteous to one another, being kind to one another. And to me, forgiveness is the key. Forgiveness is the key, and we have so many things that are not very fulfilling. But when I forgive my family, if they've done something to hurt me, or a friend that I feel hurt, it's about both of us forgiving. And to me, that precedes peace. And
Yeah. In your introduction, you talked about the healing, resolving the current trauma, global chaos.
right.
And so I'm curious, how do you address that in your everyday practice?
I work with my own self first to get my mind straightened out. And I sometimes like to think of my thinking and turning, if it's making me miserable and uncomfortable and stressed, I want to turn it around, and so that I feel very comfortable. So if I'm talking about anything, whether it's a friend, a family member, a politician, an idea, anybody says, and I have an opposite belief, I work with me in saying, okay, I can understand that person. I might not agree with them, but I can open up my heart and I can allow that energy to move into me, and I can be okay with it. So that gives me peace.
Okay. So you work on reducing your own resistance
Right. That's
to
exactly right.
whatever is around you.
Right.
And how do you see that helping the world? I think that's a relevant question. It's yeah, we all need to work on ourselves. That's basically it. But what's the link? What's the bridge in your perception?
For me, I believe in the power of, there's only one energy in the world and in the universe. If there's only one, then I'm connected to all of that. I do not feel separated. I feel big instead of little, like I referred to a while ago. I feel like wow, life is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel connected to my next door neighbor if she has an opposite belief system than I do, or a politician, or anybody. And again, for me, with that and helping myself feel comfortable and happy, if I feel like I got cheated in a store, then I can do what I need from a peaceful, kind way, and know that our commonness to me is our humanity, which includes we all want to feel loved and cared for. We all want to feel comfortable. We all want to have food and a place to live. We all want to be treated with respect. So I hold myself accountable to do those things to other people. But I first have to do it with me.
Mhm. So, loving yourself and forgiving yourself. Sometimes I have found that kind of challenging.
I do too.
So, what do you do when you find it challenging?
Well, okay, so Rosemary, I can use you. If you said something hateful to me, which you never would, but I can use you, I can pick on you. Well, I don't
Okay.
think you would. But anyway, I could say, I'd look at that as we're both human and meet us on common ground. And it has helped me to say, well, I forgive us, Rosemary. I forgive us, because there's always that action between us.
Right.
And if I say somebody, do it the opposite, that I say something hateful to somebody, I forgive us still, because that reestablishes the connection. And when there's two, there always has to be both sides that
That's
are
true.
involved.
That's
For
true.
me, I'll give you another example, because quite a few years ago, I was involved in an organization, and I felt like the people there they didn't respect me, and I shared all kinds of fun things myself with them. But they really didn't accept that. But I just kept on giving and giving. They did not appreciate it. So as I moved forward again, and during that time, I would say, I forgive us. I forgive us, because I was not being responsible, because I was allowing it to happen by staying there and by falling into that path that they set up for me. But I was just as responsible as they were, because I was allowing it to happen.
Interesting. That's a really nice concept. I forgive us. It really takes responsibility for the fact that somehow we are responsible for what happens to us. We don't necessarily understand how, but I guess it's not that we're responsible for what happens. We're responsible for how we deal with what happens.
Yes.
So your responsibility there was, if you were being traumatized, was to speak up and, if necessary, go someplace else.
Which I did. I went somebody else, but again, I kept working with myself, and still do. I kept working with myself that I forgive us, because when there is a problem, the solution has to be with the whole.
Right, with everybody involved.
With everybody involved. And so that's how it works for me.
You can't influence the other person, what they do. They're going to be who they are and do what they do. But by taking care of you and changing your way of looking at things, you are creating the possibility of harmony.
Exactly.
And that's what your responsibility is.
Right.
So, for instance, and in a workplace, that frequently happens, that somebody is not appreciated, not treated kindly. And it happens also in relationships. And whether, whatever your role is in a relationship, you're never perfect. So there's always room to think about, okay, I forgive us. I love that. I'm going to make that one of my watchwords. And that includes forgiving me. And it includes also doing whatever I need to change how I'm participating in the situation. Because I can argue until, I have no more breath. And it's not going to change the other person. But changing me will change the other person somehow.
It has to. It changes me because I'm comfortable and I'm peaceful.
Right.
Now I'm only responsible for that part of the situation. But then my heart is, I call it softening my heart. And as my heart softens, then I can send love to those people. There comes a time when I can think of that person and not feel any of the old. I just feel peaceful and love about the person. Then I know I have done my part in forgiving myself and forgiving the other person as well. And if I see him on the street, I'm still calm and peaceful. And so to me, that is one of my clues that I have done my part.
Right.
And that I am peaceful and forgiving. And to me, I say peace precedes healing, and then love is what does the healing work. And then as my heart softens, then I can reach out to the other person or people or group, and I can just send that love through the open door of my heart. And I believe that is how the reconciliation of our human hearts is what the answer is to bring us into this new world that we're creating now in the evolutionary process.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I see that very clearly, that as we go forward, and I think that the people here with us at this moment are part of that worldwide evolution of consciousness, that people are more and more prioritizing harmony and heart softness, if you will, acceptance, kindness, what peace is. And the more of us change our grudges, our resentments, our inharmony about what we've experienced, it just puts in positive energy out there that other people can then latch onto. And it's happening, that's what we're working on. And I can see it, that, wow, there is a lot of hope. If we can focus on, and, we can focus on all the places that humanity has broken the connections. But the more of us learn and appreciate the power of feeling connected in our hearts, then the more peace has a chance, the more fertile soil there is for it in human hearts.
Right. And we have a story here in the United States that I enjoy. And again, sometimes we're just working with one person or three people or whatever. That doesn't matter because it's like it multiplies. It's not really a boomerang. It increases. But the old story is it's that maximizing energy. The starfish. There is a gentleman walking down the beach, and all of these starfish, and that's a sea animal. Starfish had come up on the beach, and they were stuck on the beach. And so this person comes along on the beach and says, and he throws back this one, and then he walks on and he throws back this one, and he throws back the next one. And there are thousands of them on the beach. And somebody comes along and said, throwing those back one at a time doesn't make a difference. And the person throwing them back, it says, for this one, it does.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that, amazingly, is really how we bring about change around
Right.
us and further and further. The physical phenomenon of what happens when you throw a stone into a body of water is a great example, because the energy of that goes on and on and on and on and on as long as there's water. The vibration of it keeps spreading. And I think that's a good way of imagining, of perceiving what happens when we forgive us.
Yes.
It's throwing a stone into the energy of the world and creating ripples.
Right. And when I think of the planet on which we live, I can think of I forgive us. And it's not just right now, it's been all of our history of how we have mistreated the planet and each other. And I feel like with the healing of the human heart, that brings about the healing of the planet and all life on the planet, because we are the ones that have the insight and know how to take care of the planet. I mean, a tree can't. Now we can hug a tree, and the tree sends us energy, but it doesn't get up and move around and take chainsaws and all of that stuff. It's very wise and sends out energy and thinks in its own way. But we are the ones that can master ourselves, and then we can work with the whole of the planet.
Right, absolutely. So, you guys must have at least one thought running around in your heads as you're listening to this. Would somebody please share a comment or a question or an experience?
I have a question for Reverend Violet about, I don't know, but I think that everyone in their lives, including me, and I am reflecting on, there is someone that is really hard to deal with, someone that is really like making it hard for us to be able to be in this connection with him. And how can we deal with this? What is your advice for those kind of, people?
Right. And I have that too. And there's people we can resonate with, if you know what resonate means, that we don't flow together naturally.
We're not harmonious with.
We're not harmonious with, and that is true. For me, I work a lot with meditation, prayerful meditation. And again, I work with my teachers in spirit, but I go within to that place within the center of self. And right now in my mind, I'm picturing that peaceful place. There's a quiet pond. There may be animals, ducks or swan floating on it, and I create a peaceful scene for myself. And then I go within, and with the intention, I set an intention for the healing of this relationship. And I set that intention. And then as I am quiet and peaceful, often it helps me to, instead of focusing on that one situation, for me to get in there and I can see there may be a family member or a friend or a dog or a deer or something, a tree, that in my mind I can get my balance by something that I'm very comfortable with. And I get myself to that place where I'm very comfortable, or even a friend that I enjoy when we can, giving them a hug when we're not in the COVID thing, that I can be comfortable. I find a place or a vacation, whatever it is, a place where I'm very, very comfortable. And so it's like backing up and looking at the whole picture for a place where I'm comfortable, so that then as I do that, I can send out maybe love to the whole world and just draw in. I'm feeding myself the energy of comfort and peace. And as I do that, then I work with myself. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. I was going to say Rome wasn't built in a day, but I don't know how familiar all of you are with all of this, but it is a process, and it's being kind to myself. If I don't make it the first time, I keep on, and then I might even work with, I forgive all of us our human ignorance, because I've worked with forgiveness in that way, forgiving our human ignorance, because we don't see the whole picture. So it, for me, is backing up and maybe sending healing to the whole planet. And then as I can, to come back to this relationship that has been, I feel the separation with, and the animosity and the problem. And then I can say, I forgive myself, I forgive us. And then it's again a process of working. I first need to establish my comfort, my inner security, and feel that I'm loved and guided and cared for. And when I can do that, I can get myself to a place that I feel so loved and so guided and cared for and appreciated. Then I'm able to, I've reestablished my own inner security and peace, because it's my security, inner security, that is damaged when these things happen. And so it's a process. And as I do, then I think, oh, I've done that. Now I build on those successes. And that's how, when I hit that deer, I had built on my successes over and over and over. And I certainly am not perfect at all, but there is that perfection within me, that higher state of consciousness that I can turn within and find the place to balance myself. And again, it can be hugging a tree, whatever it takes. And since we are universal, I can go to Turkey right now, if I choose to, and set my environment for anything that I please. But it takes patience and peace and calmness, and I need to feel like I'm being loved and cared and hugged. And so that helps to heal and soften my heart, so that I can do, I forgive us.
So basically what you're saying is that acknowledging the fact that we are love, we are loved just in ourselves, in terms of who we are as expressions of the universe, as part of creation. We're all one. And getting back into that feeling, that knowledge, then that gives you the way, I guess, the inspiration of how to be loving with that person.
Right. It gives me the foundation. It's a foundational thing. And it gives me the strength, and it gives me the courage. It gives me exactly the energy. And then also, I find when I'm peaceful and I work with the forgiveness, then I know the action plan. And sometimes the action plan in the physical world is just to send it out into the world and to be able to share the story with others. And sometimes it may be to call the person and say, I'm sorry this happened. And you come from your heart. It isn't always the words that matter, but when I come from what I call the open door of my heart, then it opens the door to my magnificent, what I call the universal glory on display.
Nice.
Or the God energy, the good orderly direction of life rhythm. It's all about reestablishing life rhythm. And then we don't feel the disconnect.
Cool. Yeah. The lack of love is always a feeling of disconnect.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I work continually with life rhythm, and I've trained my subconscious mind in the background, those noises, to monitor my thinking. And that's one of the very, very first things I learned, was to monitor my thoughts, because they carry information out into the universe, into the quantum, into the whole. And it's the information I give out, it's what I get back.
Yeah. There's this whole not physically visible universe going on
Right.
in and around us, and we're always a part of it, and it always affects us and we affect it. But since we can't see it physically, we have to train ourselves to think about it and to be aware of it.
Right. And when I walk and I walk my dog, or when I walk or do anything, and I looked out my window here to see the trees and everything. I live across the street from a park, and there are all kinds of trees at the state park. And, you know, I train my mind to a lot of times to say life rhythm. I just walk down the street saying life rhythm and bring in that breath of life. Bring it in. It's the flow of life, is breathing in the energy and then breathing it out, and breathing it in and breathing it out. And a couple of days ago, of course, I haven't been out a lot. I do go to the grocery store and I go out and things, but I find such wonderful blessings because I draw in certain energy, and I need certain energy, and I might need to call a friend because I need their energy, or vice versa. They call me and they need my energy. Or I went to a grocery store there a couple of days ago, Harris Teeter, for those of you who know, and I walked into all of the fruits and the vegetables and all the color. I thought, wow, I needed this. I needed all of that color to feed me the energy I needed from the physical world, but it also is life. It is also, it has that life rhythm. And well, apples or green things or whatever, it has that wonderful life rhythm that I needed to draw in that particular thing. So when I'm peaceful in harmony with life rhythm, I know where I need to go, and then I'm being who I really am.
And that ultimately is what we're all seeking, to really be who we are.
And that to me is the peace.
Yes, exactly.
And then as I am peaceful, then I can send out through the open door of my heart as I work with energy. Some people call it Reiki. I work with my teachers in spirit, but it is working with energy, and I can have my heart that is, hearts change, the vibrational part of the heart, the spiritual part, it changes with every thought, with all of the information. And as I can open my heart, and then I can send love. Just like when you're loving a newborn baby or a puppy or whatever, your heart just opens and you can share that love.
Yep.
It's like, and I focus on loving compassion, feeling like the Dalai Lama. I focus on loving compassion, and that loving compassion for me. If I feel that loving compassion for me, when I'm falling apart or whatever, I can get myself to that loving compassion. Then I can send it out to you, to the whole world and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Fabulous. Any other comments? Speak up. Questions?
Can I ask, there is something that is very important that you have said, Violet. You said that you've been working with people on forgiveness, and that is a very important thing to connect with love to others. So there is my friend, not a close friend, but she's got a story, a big story. And because you've been working with those kind of people, so maybe you can help me, help her, give good advice. So a girl who has been abandoned by one of the parents, and I agree totally that we can control somehow the thoughts, but it's the feelings. So when we speak, she seems that she has no intention, or she doesn't feel, and the this is understandable because she's been abandoned. I don't know. She doesn't feel anything toward this parent that now is old and suffering from a sickness, and she is split between whether to go and see him, and she doesn't know if this is the right thing to do, or the second part of her is telling her no, that you feel nothing toward this person as if she has never existed in your life, so she is not willing to go, and she's living a trauma. And the thing that is that it's very challenging because when we go out, I feel that she is disturbed. So she is in between. She doesn't know what to do. So she has this angriness in her because she hasn't lived, or she hasn't been able to live all what children had lived with their parents, and the company that parents can give the children. But in the same time, because her parent is not dying, she said, I don't want to go just because he is dying. So I think that she is disturbed somehow in the way she needs to do. So what advice can we give such people or such person, such trauma?
Okay, the question for me is, what advice can you give yourself first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yourself. I can never make anybody do anything. And if they're not ready, no matter what I say, I won't be able to reach them. But if I could sometimes say, and what comes to my mind right now is say, whatever, we'll say it's a woman. Okay, I might say whatever her name is. I'll call her Sally. I'll say, oh, Sally, I understand. So I'm softening my heart. I understand. And I appreciate that. And I just think the world of you as my friend. And I'm here to support you in any way I can. Because when we work with people and they resist us, that it just gets a bigger thing. And they resist us more. So your part, I would say, is for you to be peaceful about your relationship with her, and then to be a friend and that loving compassion for yourself and for her. And then whenever she's ready, her heart will open, and then she knows the action plan, and you will have done your part with your action plan. And at some point she might say to you, well, what is it you think? How could you help me? And if she doesn't, then when people don't invite us in, their door is closed. We have to be invited in. And so.
And even then, it's not up to us to tell anyone else what to do.
Exactly.
We ask them, so what do you think? What do you feel? And help them to clarify their own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and even, is there some way that I can help you with this? I want to support you. Is there some way I can help you? And again, it has to do, okay, I was reading down there, but we just have to keep turning within and get our own action plan.
So did you see Abu's question in the chat?
I only got part of it.
Why did you not take action when you knew that you were disliked in the place you worked?
Well, that's a good question. I hadn't grown that far. I hadn't grown to the place I felt, because I just hadn't grown there. I wasn't ready. I felt it's like I was disabled.
Yeah, you were.
I was disabled. Being in that place, it was familiar to me, even though it was uncomfortable. And to step out on my own and leave that, and it was a place that I'd been with and friends that I've had for 22 years. And I had to leave my comfort zone. Whether that makes sense or not, but there came a time when I'd had it, I had enough, and I knew the action plan to take. So it has to be when I'm ready. And again, I have to be miserable enough or whatever it is.
That's true. And I think that's why often our best transitions, our best shifts in life come out of really horrible experiences, because that's the point at which we say, I have nothing else to lose. I got to do what I got to do.
And I always feel there's nothing left in this relationship. There's no energy between us.
Right.
If I would say I've had relationship, if I said the word the, it would be wrong in the other person's eyes.
Yep, that's pretty uncomfortable situation.
And then it's time for me to make a change. And then I can feel free.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time because it was traumatic. I had put my heart and soul in it, but not my whole heart and soul. But I only learned that afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That my whole heart and soul is in my own ministry and not under the auspices of somebody else.
Right.
Because then they pulled my strings at what I needed to do. And then when I got out, then I'm free to work in the way that is right for me without the other part of it.
And with workplaces, with relationships, with family situations, there's all kinds of times when we're uncomfortable in a certain situation, and it's a dialogue in us between comfort, between the what we call the evil we know, which is less scary than the evil we don't know. Like, what's going to happen if I do move or change or leave or put my foot down, which means stand up for yourself.
I kind of knew who I was in that situation. But when I left that, I didn't know who I was anymore. I had to explore some more. And that, again, is the stretching of my personality. I call it the enlightening of my ego. We haven't talked about ego, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
And it's the softening of my heart. As my heart softens, then that physical ego part of me that is unenlightened becomes what I call enlightened ego.
That's a nice concept. We'll save that one for the next interview.
Okay.
We have reached at the end of our time, and so I'm going to thank Reverend Violet very much from my heart for joining us today and for sharing her experiences. And I hope that for those of you who have been here and participated or listened, that you learned something that you will be able to make use of in your own life as you deal with whatever challenges and choices you have to make at different times. So thank you very much, Violet. We really appreciate you and your love.
And I enjoyed it, and I can say, and I can feel comfortable saying I love all of you, because I love the whole of humankind and the whole of the human heart. So.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you, everybody.